is the commencement of a new week, and welcome to another installment of The State here on WTV. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf, and as always, there is something in the park for you, and today would not in any way be an exception. Now, yesterday was a Sunday, and the generality of the populace were concerned about church service, but a section were also focused on football, including individuals like my twin brother, who was thinking excessively about Arsenal. But Arsenal could not lift the EPL. Elsewhere, Manchester United, of course, claimed all the Manchester City, I beg your pardon, claimed that glory, and then Ghanaian international Mohamed Kudus was on target. That was a spectacle of glory for Ghana. But that is not the only brilliant highlights where Ghana is concerned. If you come home, Ghana also has a number of positives. This afternoon, we're going to delve and crack those positives and also shine the light on the negatives of the country as well. And so, in effect, it's a comprehensive review of Ghana, looking at the gains and the prospects as well as the negativities and the low sides. Our guest this afternoon is Franklin Cudjoe, the founding president of Imani Africa. We take a breather. When we come back, the government don't go anywhere.
Don't come yo, don't call me. Ghana for Methodist Asafuma. WTV Enyam Fianumo 5 years. Hooray! Na enam Emfianuma Fidida. WTV ADNT. Or yet don't call me promo. And say, Zawaya Methodist Asafuma. Now what business? And I do be a opeso bomu deura. WTV say, ye baby chat or Jumakuno. And as we got on, you know, ya bomu deura na what me 2 weeks at the amount 500 Ghana cedis per. And I'll bet ya. We a yakwanya WTV Air Faso at the other. Say what time the chi ama drum pempenswa and never dream. Sa promo ye dia kwesi mebo so me na wiye. Ya no ti Methodist asafoma mo wanyumaku a mo pesa mo bo ho dawuro no. Muntutumrika na momra Fred WTV. Na ne penfo ni nkomo emfa don komi promo yi ho 0593 110733 and now WhatsApp 0256 253461. WTV, reaching out to the world.
Sorry, not sure.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Get ready for a transformational morning experience.
Sorena Shrine is here to build our spirituality, mental and physical well-being.
Through positive, inspiring actions and stories.
We bring you exciting activities and conversations that develop us as a people and as a nation.
We take a look at the trending issues in Ghana and the rest of the world.
And we also review the impacting stories from our local newspapers.
Every morning, we bring you stories of hope, change, and renewal.
We empower you through the Word of God and provoke you to live the purposeful life destined for you.
Join us, Anita Kwako
and the Reverend 𝗟𝗓𝗩𝗘 Agbamanya, Monday to Friday from 5:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. as we take you on an inspiring journey, live and exclusively on WTV.
You may also join us on Facebook at WTV Ghana and on YouTube at 𝗟𝗵𝗲𝗃 Ghana.
Sorry, not Shrine.
Wake up to a purposeful day.
Sorena Shrine is brought to you by
Danwell Insurance, Multi-Credit Savings and Loans,
and the Methodist University Ghana.
God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. Those are the timeless words contained in the country's anthem. And so we are always expecting the God of the heavens to bestow blessings upon us. Has he done that? A lot of people would agree that Ghana is indeed blessed. And so the question arises, why do we still suffer and experience the predicaments that we always go through on a regular basis. I'm going to take you to the screen right now, and we're going to do a binary analysis that is going to focus on the gains of the country as well as the negativities as well. Welcome to W Briefs. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf. For those of you who are new to this particular exercise, it is where we serve you details on the item that we're going to discuss on this particular show. Now, Ghana has been variously described as the gateway to Africa and the beacon of peace and the citadel of democracy in the African continent. But why so? And so basically that is the rap about Ghana. Many people believe that, look, if you're looking to any promising, if you're looking for any prospective or promising African country, go to Ghana. But this is why a lot of people have that impression, because when you come here to Ghana, my motherland, our motherland, you're going to find press freedom. You realize that the press is not being stifled as it happens in other jurisdictions. Also, you realize that our democracy is relatively sustained. Now, let me throw a little bit of light on this. So, prior to 1992, the country was not under constitutional, as it were, governance. But from 1992 up to now, that is almost some 31, 32 years, you would realize that the country has enjoyed stable and sustained democracy. There's also been consistent, free and fair elections. Now, we do not mean to say that our elections have not had its own fair of challenges. Of course, there have been pockets of isolated incidents that are undesirable here and there, but generally we believe that elections in our local jurisdiction has been consistently free and fair. Also, we have an abundance of natural resources. If this were a social studies class, like I would have started pointing out everybody, okay, you point what are some of the natural resources, and we can do that at home. So there is cocoa, there is timber, there is gold, there is oil. There is even bauxite here in Ghana, an avalanche of natural resources. Relative peace and political stability is also one of the many blessings that we do enjoy here in Ghana, formerly Gold Coast, right? Okay, there's also a rich cultural heritage, and we can spend the whole day talking about this. Don't forget that we have 16 administrative regions. Now, if you tell all of these 16 administrative regions, you will definitely find very impressive cultural displays. I am a Fanti. I come from Winneba, of course, the central region. We do have one of the spiced festivals in Ghana, Abuatre for that matter. You can celebrate yours at home. We are also a very hospitable country. Hospitality is one of the hallmarks of Ghana. Everybody says that, look, if you go to Ghana and they do not even know you, they may serve you something like Ghana jollof. Something that is excitable. Not everybody does that. A particular country, we will not mention their names. There's also intertribal and religious tolerance. So this is big. I find that to be grand. Yes, religiously we are pluralistic because there are Christians, there are Muslims, but everybody is living harmoniously. But away from all the bright sides of the country that you may want to put, there's also the pangs of Ghana. Number one, I like this. Number one, there is bribery and corruption. BNC has always been with us, and we don't need to define it. We feel it, we understand it, and we can relate tangibly with this particular challenge. Disregard for the rule of law. Let's do a little bit of social studies. The rule of law simply means that at every given point, the stated regulations is what would inform the outcome of our dealings. But here in Ghana, sometimes, and quite a number of times, you have seen activities that do not in any way tally with what have been stated as the appropriate legislations, and that has been a problem. There's functional state institutions and excessive partisanship. The duration of this show is only an hour, but if we were to focus on this alone, I am not sure that we will be out of here. The name of this program effectively is The State. We look at Ghana. We don't do anything that has gotten to do with any political party whatsoever. So that is it. But excessive partisanship has been one of our major problems. There's also lack of confidence in the judiciary, and this is a recent challenge that many people have been criticizing. Lack of social amenities is also one of the headaches or the albatrosses that we are always discussing. Let's get to the talk. Every political cycle, politicians make juicy promises and outdoor voluminous manifestos to deal with the challenges confronting the nation. But these have largely ended as mere talk. And indeed, it's a problem. So we hear a lot of lofty promises. I'm going to do X, Y, Z. I'm going to put ABC in place. But normally, there is an ocean between the promise and the delivery. So the big question we are asking this afternoon is, how can we consolidate our gains and find the right antidote to our pains? Very valid question. When we return, Franklin Kudjo is the founding president of Imani Center for Policy and Education, and he's going to be our guest. It's a pleasure always serving you here on the stage. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf, and it's important for us to indicate strongly that here on this platform, our concern is not partisan. We do not seek to amplify the narrative of any political party or front the conversation of any ideological establishment. What we do is to focus on the generality of the Ghanaian populace. And so anytime we are having any conversation, that is effectively the ethos and the guideline. And so if at any given point you at home perceives that, I think you are debating, you can always call us. Of course, you would see that our numbers and our contact details are rolling, and tell us that, look, the state is for the state. It's not for the National Democratic Congress, neither is it for the ruling New Patriotic Party, because the emphasis is always on Ghana, and that must be well emphasized. This afternoon, we have a man who personally I do admire, I respect abundantly, and that is because he's been thoroughly involved in the policy discourse here in Ghana. Talk about policy, talk about anything that has gotten to do with implementation of effective developmental strategies. You cannot at any given time, ignore Franklin Kudjo. He is the founding president of Imani Africa. Franklin, it's a pleasure to have you. We are grateful for your company this afternoon.
I'm honored, Mr. Schandorf. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And very kind of you to have introduced me with those flowery words. Thank you.
Right. I've been thinking, when it comes to, we're going to start very soon. We're going to get into the substance of the conversation. But when it comes to conversations around policy, this is my personal reservation. I don't want to even call it a reservation, but a personal concern that I have. Does policy, do policies develop countries in the very first place? It's one of the things I've been really heavily thinking about, because here in Ghana, for instance, we have quite a number of them, an avalanche of them, someone may want to put it that way, but we do not really see progress. So I've had cause to think before. Does policy really do anything? Is it important in the very first place, before we get into the substance?
Well, I think policy obviously trumps what I call politics. Ordinarily, policy should lead politics. Well, unfortunately, it's the politics that actually gets the policy working. First of all, you've got to think through the things you want to say to a populace and electorates, and so you develop some sort of policy. No matter how woolly or absurd it may sound, you would have thought of it as a policy you want to put across. Unfortunately, it is the same politics, because politics gives you power, which would then mean that you want to practicalize the policy. If the politics is wrong, as in the people who are politicizing, or politicking rather, are wrong, as in they are not well intentioned, then the policy will suffer. Because essentially what it means is that really, if you promise people that you want to deliver, let's say, toilets to people everywhere, and then maybe you don't even deliver half of it. Maybe there's a disconnect. Maybe let me use a better example. If you say you want to improve the agricultural outputs of this country, so you want to invest in dams, for instance, as this current government has done, as promised, then you expected that these dams would have been thought through properly. I mean, feasibility studies would have been done to ensure that the dams are up to scratch, there's proper dams and not dug out. Eventually, what happened was that out of probably, let me say, out of 100% promise, probably 85–90% of it wasn't attained. So the vehicle to getting policy right in this was supposed to be politics, because the politics birth the leadership and the people who have to go be on the ground to deliver. So policies by themselves cannot develop a country, no matter how well-intentioned they are. It is the politics that actually determine how good policies are. And, you know, this question you asked me actually reminds me of my visit to the number 10. The British government was kind enough to ask me to be a leader. A leader basically attended, visited a number of British institutions. And I remember having a discussion with the 𝗟𝗓𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏's secretary at the time. I think he was in charge of policy, sorry. And then I asked him, what is the mix in terms of policy and politics? What is the mix when it comes to the UK? I mean, a government like the Conservative government. And he was quite frank. He told me that, look, politics does play a role in whatever we do. But you see, politics just constitute just about 30%, probably 25% of all that we do for the UK people, because policy is what actually basically is what guides, is the being and all of a particular development of a nation. But it's the politics that determines what policies must be put in place. Unfortunately, the reason why he was telling me that 30% politics means that they reserve room for some level of madness, for lack of a better term, because the backdrop with which he made the point about politics, that you need to also take care of the politics as well. And of course, you could see it was grinning from year to year, essentially suggesting that, you know, politics is the, like they say, the art of the possible. So you can throw in all kinds of things in there, and it could be possible, but could it be the right thing to do? So yes, so again, summarizing an answer to your direct question that we asked, policies by themselves wouldn't really develop a country. And if I may add, you know, it's interesting you brought the topic political promises. Many people have forgotten that 𝗟𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗘, may so rest in peace, domestication. For a very long time was the only politician who actually puts on numbers to his promise, the domestication promise. Even though how to get to that number was, I don't think he had done the costing, but I was amazed when he said that we were going to mobilize $840 billion in the tenure of his administration. And what it meant was that if he had $840 billion, would have meant that by the time, actually a year, sorry, so that by the time he was ending this, assuming he won power and then was ending this term, by the end of, let's say, 4 years, he would have garnered close to $7.2 trillion at the time, which would have rivaled the UK economy at the time. You know, and people, I thought people didn't particularly pay attention, but you see, he had a policy. The policy was grow what you eat and eat what you grow. Right. Yeah, grow what you eat and then whatever, sell some or whatever it is. So yes, so that's about policy or politics or thank you.
Right. It's clear from your submissions that, of course, the two are inextricably linked. Politics cannot be decoupled from, as it were, policy. So both of them marry, and then they give birth to the developmental outcomes of any country. But here in Ghana in particular, let's talk about the politics of Ghana before we delve into the policy propositions of this particular country. Looking at the politics of Ghana, everybody has expressed concern in one way or the other that, look, our policy has become duopolized. It's always either the National Democratic Congress or the ruling New Patriotic Party, and that has not helped us, I mean, over the period. Are you part of the school of thought that believes that, look, let's for a moment pause and look away from these two respective parties and perhaps give and pay attention to another outfit so that we can also assess them and see whether it has been the faults of these two parties or maybe there are other factors? Effectively, I'm asking that, do you share in the suggestion that there ought to be a third force to drive Ghana's political narrative?
You know, questions about third forces and probably fourth forces are interesting. But I ask myself, really, at the end of the day, it is still people who would constitute these political parties. At the point, they may also start we may start probably getting tired of them, and then we may be asking for fourth and fifth forces. The point we make really do is that I think you and I, and many other people who are, for lack of a better term, leading lights in terms of trying to understand how economic phenomena begets results, developments, I think what we should be doing is to encourage and teach a lot, not necessarily teach, discuss a lot more with our Ghanaian populace. Now look, you are a stakeholder in the development of this country. The fact that you belong to a party doesn't make you a robot. You are a thinking being, and so far as you want to exert accountability, that is what determines your life basically as a human being on the planet, right? Because if you cannot exert accountability for your leaders and you can be praying for them, that's not accountability. You need to exert accountability because you are contributing to the development of this country. So to shy off answering your question, third forces, I think we should rather work to perfect the current systems we have. Because come what may, even if these people sway, I mean, they decide to sway from one party to the other, they wouldn't have been baptized or metamorphosed into some realistic thinking. But for at best, what may happen really, Mr. Schandorf, is that maybe the third force is promising interesting stuff, like this guy called 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘𝗏.
Cheddar.
Bediako is doing quite well. I think Bediako should rather focus on telling people how to be responsible citizens. I don't think he bother himself becoming president. He's doing that well, seriously. In fact, he's paid, I don't know whether I've monitored, he's paid for adverts where he's virtually telling citizens what they are and what power they have and whatever they need to do to claw back the power they've ceded to these monstrous two parties. And I think it's a perfect example of how a dutiful citizen should be.
Frankly, pause your thoughts briefly. You describe them as monstrous two parties. Why would you characterize them in that manner?
Maybe an allegory. What I'm just trying to say is that monstrous in the sense that in terms of size, and in terms of the decadence they visited on us.
That is why individuals like Nana 𝗟𝗏𝗪𝗘𝗏 want to come into the fray. But you believe they should concern themselves with educating the public.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is that he won't be president. Let's not joke. Let's give this election. He's not gonna win. Let's not fight over that. So, and I'm saying that I just found a perfect candidate, and I wish I would call him and say, "Dad, maybe we should raise more money to go around the country and tell people what they should be asking the leaders to do. And then that way development will come about." Because I think we need a lot more of those. And as I said, he's doing well. He was teaching people how to make sure they are citizens and vote. And more important was that he was making the point that, look, you are a stakeholder in this process, in this country called Ghana. You need to be part and parcel of decision making. This whole idea of following political parties, the annoying bit really is that, and again, if they have actually developed and made sure our lives were better off, look, people wouldn't really care that much to even support the parties. The parties, how much do they even raise on their own membership? Rather, members are looking forward for freebies during election. Look at the parliamentary by-elections.
Right.
I mean,
elections, right?
you can't live like that. So we should focus on making sure that we exert accountability rather than praying for leaders 24/7. You'll be praying for the guy, and the guy is praying to go and set up some cathedral somewhere which God has no knowledge of, you know. And frankly, I mean, it gets to me really, and I think we should rather be encouraging a lot more people to say, look, this is how we think we should organize it. Frankly, if you ask me, one of the projects we are working on at the mining and we are asking ourselves, we want to ask the politician, we are doing an analysis to show what Ghana should look like in 2028. My guy, if you are not thinking that way with us, we'll tell the whole country that you are old school. You are not thinking properly. Maybe people should vote for somebody else. But we can get that funny, but and rather mischievous. But I think those are the things I like to see, rather than suggest that we should move away from the third force. The third force is not happening anytime soon.
Right.
So we are better off dealing with the two behemoths.
Right, but that opinion, I'm sure Cheddar and every other person who has aspirations would not be happy with you this afternoon, because you appear to be ravishing their prospects. But I want us to now narrow the conversation to one of the cankers that consistently has undone the country. Indeed, it's one of those issues that repeatedly bedevils our fortunes. The matter of corruption is indeed a very thorny issue, and we've had too many conversations about it, actually, if you ask me. What, in your opinion, do you think is the reason we've not been able to nip it in the bud? Don't forget that, of course, there is the Office of the Special Prosecutor. It was rolled out some time back. Everybody was excited about it. We saw 𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗏 exiting. Now he himself is asking the substantive occupant of the office to leave the scene, and it has become a big issue. And the conversation has arisen: is it that we can't deal decisively with corruption? Why do you think, from where you sit and your understanding of the political sphere, why have we not been able to deal with corruption, a big animal that we could have easily shot?
I think that maybe the design of our politics, the design of our the way we do things in this town is actually the reason why. By the way, we need to differentiate what I call big, corruption, that grand corruption, from petty people. The kind of corruption you are talking about is the one that makes a dent on the economy, makes a dent in your life. Because if somebody got a multi-million-dollar contract and through a rich process, there's no way they are going to get the outcomes that you're likely to look for in a particular road, a standard of road that you want. Because the person will most likely the person will not be paid the right sum. The person will be rigging the process all the way to the completion of the road. So I think, for me, the question we should be asking ourselves is, the laws we've passed, and by the way, we have too many laws. I remember when I was working at the IEA, my governance, I was working the governance lead, and we did a project, we did an analysis called who is a leadership code with teeth. Essentially asking the question, is there a leadership code with teeth? Which is it biting enough? And we looked through, we did the analysis and realized that even at the time, this was 2001, when I was at the IEA, 2002. At the time, even then, we thought that the laws were enough. That the reason why the leadership code does not bite is simply because of the absence of application. I'll tell you one, give you another reason. Look, there's a law. My good friend 𝗟𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏 used to tell me that there's an NRC decree which makes corruption a very expensive enterprise.
Right?
If you joke, you go in 10 years, you lose everything of yours. Very, very punitive. But our statutes, our law, our courts do not cite that whenever they are punishing people who have been found to be corrupt. They are quite silent on it. In the constitutional era, there are just so many of them having to pass this. Even the issue of a conflict of interest, yes, maybe it's not so clear yet, but we've passed laws against how not to do procurement, how not to read the rules. We speak of internal auditors who do not have access to, they can even see with the transaction that occur at the entity level. But even there's another challenge. Even if they have access to the things that occur at the entity level, the ministerial level, they can't do jack, because for all you know, they don't even understand what is being procured. You see, so the things that are being procured, if they are multi-million-dollar projects, like let's say helicopters or whatever, I have a budget officer sitting in the Ministry of Defense who knows next to nothing about probably value analysis or anything of the sort. What can he do? Even if he's the internal auditor, he has school in accounting, finance. If he's not specialized to know exactly how to procure such items, nothing will happen. They'll cream off the deal, make their 20-30%, and it will still pass like a normal project. So there's a combination of the lack of controls and then the adequacy of those controls, the capacity of those controls to determine that, hey, this is wrong, this is wrong. I'll give you 2 examples, then I'll learn. When we have taken on the EC, it is not because we don't like the EC. What we found out in 2020 was that against all advice that they shouldn't procure new machines, because we saw them buying machines in 2018, 2019, and that all the machines couldn't have been dead from 2011. People thought we were joking. In any case, we saw, then we got a hold of the procurement process, the way they did the tender process. Mr. Schandorf, you will laugh and cry at the same time. You could see proper rigging. In fact, what we realized was that first, the constitution of the Intensity Tender Committee, which is again against the grain of thought of what the constitution says or the procurement law says, that they should be made up of seasoned people who understand what is being procured. If you look at the list of the people they put to procure $75 million biometric verification machine, there was a young girl, a lawyer who had just finished school the day before, right, and was put on the committee. Absolutely knowledge about communication technology issues, no. The other members, there's only one man, I think the entity tender chairman himself, who, by the way, recused himself from the whole, the whole thing, was a bit more experienced. The rest had no basic, it was like basic knowledge, no proper qualifications, my brother. And
but shouldn't there be room for people to learn on jobs and acquire experience through active practice?
Mr. Schandorf, no. When it comes to procurement, you don't play with those. Those are things that come once in a while. You must have the requisite, in fact, so please take a look at the PPA recommendation. You must make sure that the persons who are sitting on the committee to evaluate any project at all, to pass them, you cannot just, I mean, imagine you are being asked to sit on the committee to analyze how we are procuring some trusses for a bridge, a big bridge. Well, I did learn economy. I did building construction for 3 years. So I may understand aspects of that. So I may call it. There may be somebody there who may not even understand what that is being said. And then the whole thing is passed. The same thing with Kearney. We saw that some of the companies that were shortlisted, 3 of them, 2 of them, the addresses were traced to some very, what's called, swampy area. And then the stated capital was 5,000 Ghana cedis. Hadn't been formed just a month earlier to bid for a $178 million contract. What do you think will happen at the end of the day? We will be saddled with the debt we are paying as we speak. 5 million. Tesla has been paying people, a company, $1.5 million every month since 2018. This is how grand corruption occurs. So to deal with it, we can do it easily. I think if a leader comes and says, hey, whatever you're purchasing, this, if you're doing this, let's constitute a committee. And I had a nice conversation with the Agri Minister a couple of weeks ago about this same issue. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that I am the deputy country lead to a team that the British government has put together to help find out the recklessness, fix the way we manage our finances badly, see where we can intervene to change the narrative. And we've met so many people. We are even continuing next week to continue our meetings. And I have come to the conclusion that, look, when I met the Agri Minister, we're talking about internal audit. They say, oh, my brother, internal auditing is nothing. It is the procurement process. Because if you are not part of the procurement process, if you don't understand it, and they are procuring something, they'll pass it on. Why? Didn't we do bars branding and so sourcing? Why? Painting the bars to, is it something unique out of this world?
Is this not why it makes sense for I mean, a prominent anti-corruption crusader like 𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗵𝗏𝗘 to make the case that, look, if we have the laws and we are not seeing the results, then the current man at the helm should leave the office. Doesn't it justify the call? The fact that, of course, there's an office that is supposed to ensure compliance. We are not seeing it to the brim. Therefore, he should go out. Is it not justified?
Mr. Schandorf, I digress. I differ strongly. You know, again, we are chasing the committal of all these heinous economic crimes. That's what we are doing. We are catching up. By the OSP, we wrote a paper. I think we titled it "Charity Begins at Home: Fighting Corruption and Waste Begins at the Office of the President." This was published somewhere January to February 2017 to 2018.
Mr. Kojo, just are you able to repeat the title of that paper? Charity Begins at Home.
And charity begins at home. Fighting waste and corruption should begin at the presidency. I mean, if you Google it, I'm sure you find it. I mean, we cataloged. Again, I'm telling you the source of grand corruption. The source of grand corruption is that it's at the office of the government machinery. Plain and simple. And I'll give you several examples to tell you that corruption is actually birthed and raised and nurtured and probably must die at the office of the government machinery. For the simple fact that that office, by its own existence, consistently had budget overruns. I recall when Mahama left office, the budget overruns was up to about 300 million Ghana cedis. Consistently, the budget, and then they ask for more. You know, that office has all sort of institutions that are not necessarily serious institutions. They should be serious institutions, but they are down there. Any institution you see that reports at the office of the president, just know that it's a wasting institute. Wasting. Probably we don't need them, and their clones are already existing. Look at Scholarship Secretariat. Why is the Scholarship Secretariat not under the Ministry of Education and it's housed at the presidency? Who are the people benefiting from the scholarship? Ministers. Did you see that? Party people. Did you see that? Because it is directed from there. Why shouldn't the Scholarship Secretariat be under Education Ministry and be put and a proper independent person be made to actually
administer?
Remember the Ministry of Special Development Initiative? It was housed at the presidency. That is the ministry that was the single most important reason why we are in this economic mess. In fact, 50% of the reason we are in an economic mess is because of that ministry. Do you know why? But that's the ministry that had $1 million every constituency. You remember? The ministry that was supposed to do one village, one dam. Minister had to do IPEP project, infrastructure of poverty eradication. These were where they nurtured and grew those wasting projects. That to the extent that dams were not constructed, we had what's it called? Basically dugouts as dams. Each of these dams were said to cost 250,000 Ghana cedis. So hold on. There's a reason why. Let me learn. The reason why I'm making these allusions is that for you to know that a special prosecutor who you've appointed, who now must have access to the persons who are at that ministry, at that government machinery, who face stumbling blocks, face most of the time. And actually, these people would have a lot of money to fight him through the court and waste a lot of time and money. We think that the best way to fight corruption is to take a fine scalpel, take almost all these institutions on the presidency, and you can save a lot of money for this country. Secondly, the special prosecutor, yes, he should do his work, but frankly, look, we didn't expect much because we knew, and we argued at the time, and you see it in that paper, that we are wasting our time. The OSP, I'm ambivalent on this. I'm telling this issue, by the way. If you took all those outfits, all those, if you like, officers, at the presidency, if you took them and then you were running them at the respective ministries, would the outcome still not be the same if you do not have effective systems? Because really, the problem appears to be attitude now. It is the way we are wired. It is our configuration as a people. So whether there is an office at the president or it is planted elsewhere, if the people are not thinking in a particular way, you definitely have the same result. So why do you then blame government machinery heavily? Well, you may have a point, but to the extent that there are certain powers that these bodies have that you cannot, unfortunately, you can't be touching them that much. But if you're in ministry, the ministries, there are various levels of reportage. There's a chief director, you report, there's a budget office, there are budget officers who scrutinize everything you do. So it's not easy for you to come up to cook up such schemes. In fact, if we look at some of the ministries that have had issues in the past, it is rather that the ministers or the people, political heads, have taken these decisions on the blunt side of the administrative setup for these ministries. Case example is 𝗟𝗓𝗪𝗘𝗏 There was a deputy minister in this administration that called me at midnight and said, Charlie, they are signing this on the blunt side of cabinet, on the blunt side of even the ministry, so take the contract and go to town. That's how I got it. So to think that, but I get your point. If it was the case that this was, yes, but you see, like I'm saying, the levels of control, it will be difficult to superintend. Did you hear what the scholarship secretary was telling people? Basically telling people to go to hell, and that scholarship will be given anyway. I don't think if it was part of a ministry, maybe the angst with which you spoke, I don't know, maybe
may have been different, right?
But you have a point. You have a point.
Right.
Generally, I think our attitudes really must also be checked.
We want to take a breather here. When we come back, we're going to get into another layer of this conversation. Don't forget that we are not only focusing on the gains of Ghana, particularly we are centering the focus on the pains of Ghana and how to resolve them. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Praise God, praise God. Christ in tea, you respond, yeah, addition. I'm excited to announce to you, friends in the Lord, are you seeking for a platform where you can pray? Open baby up a soul bomb pie. Now ninyami edi in kita home. Bibi chiro so. And I'm yebi na the same kum. And you come home. Let's go into the prayer room on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. to meet seasoned ministers of God that God has raised to impact your life. Remember, John Wesley said, I have too much to do, therefore I spend several hours in prayer in able to do it. That is why we are calling upon you. Meet myself, Reverend Hosea Say, and the Evangelism Mission Renewal Directorate as we lead you into the prayer room where we encounter Christ. And I believe your life will never be the same. Call your friends or loved ones every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. where we will encounter Christ. God bless you. See you on our screens on WTV every Friday 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. God bless you.
Kwani twa asuo tware kwan opani ene hwan ye bo kwan kotu asuo firi tete odomankoma de yakwa akoto no kwan ya faso koto no enya de kro entimpani nse faso koto entimi nya pani nsire krokoto faso koto aye nhwehwemu ade ko krokoto no ho nsuo aye pani yakoto e edu fasa akwa we so akase nyame ene de edikai e wa kwan nyina mu efrise ono de o ho ene yebeto no oboy ene yebehu no enti yakwane ayefa so hunu nyame no ekire egina baabi ayete ene ya mamere so enti sa nyame krokoto no obehu ni ye ya agese wo kwan ya ono abowo nyansa ma watimi abo ato na mpani mfuro swai de ato ho ama wo no uhunu sa kwan no na ofa so de sum ni ye
empanyi betrase na ye swan adwen hwɛ yɛnim na yɛnkyɛ koraa.
Thanks for your patience. We are back, and this is The Stage on Wesleyan Television. Don't forget that we are not only on TV, we're also streaming live on Facebook as well as YouTube. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf, and this afternoon, the purpose of the conversation is generally about the Republic of Ghana, our dear nation, and we are thinking and talking Ghana. On Zoom is Mr. Franklin Kudjo, who is the founding president of the Imani Center for Policy and Education. And earlier we were just looking at, generally just calibrating what has been influencing our downfalls, and corruption has been the focus. He disagrees with calls for the special prosecutor, Mr. 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘, to resign, and he has outlined his reasons. But we're going to stay on corruption a bit more, because there is another leg to the whole discourse of corruption, and that particular leg has gotten to do with the fact that our socialization system in the very first place is broken, it's defunct, and it is bankrupt. So people are born, citizens are born, and already they are not imbibed with, as it were, proper traits. That is why they grow to become, let me say this advisedly, the thieves that we see. Mr. Kudjo, do you agree that it starts right from the genesis, from the time Paa Kwesi Schandorf is born or Franklin Kudjo is born, they are already in a corrupt system, and therefore we should blame everything squarely on our socialization infrastructure?
Well, I don't know whether you've seen the movie The President's Men, or The President's Men. I think that's the title, which was modeled on the corruption case involving President Nixon. There was the conversation between some two guys who wanted to make sure that they set up a judge. They wanted to find something, a stain on the judge. And one of them said, what about the judge? Surely we can find something on him. The other guy said, no, that guy is too super clean. Then the guy retorted and said, no, man is born in sin. From the day he's born until the day he dies, he'll be corrupted by sin. So to answer your question, yes, we are mortally sinful and corrupt. But I think that's why there are rules and there are laws to prevent people from going overboard, and then people get punished. The question is, have we really been punishing people who engage in extensive grafts? No, I don't think we've done enough. Maybe occasionally you see one or two people doing something, but just look at this republic. How many people, of all the monies that have been wasted and probably stolen in this country the last 30-something years or so, how many people have actually seen the law, face the music?
Because maybe we have just been floating accusations perceptively. We have merely been floating the accusations perceptively without any smoking guns, any incontrovertible pieces of evidence. Perhaps that could be the reason, and not as if people are truly stealing.
No, well, maybe you do have a point, but I think the challenge really is that, I told you not long ago, once you are accused of doing something, and it's probably on the face of it likely to be true, you have enormous resources to fight this throughout the courts. People say it's a rule of law, but you see, money has gone down the drain. We've seen the waste. Yet, with a legalistic argument being made that, no, you did not do this, which is all fine. I'm only saying that I don't think we've applied the rules fairly. Look, in this country, in most of the countries we copy, even in Latin America, no longer, watches, a lady president purchased was seen wearing designer watches. What happened? You heard it. He's raided her home because they kept asking her to come and justify but they know the acquisition. Yeah, you remember? They raided her home to find out more about this, and she claimed that she had it from years ago. Just about $100,000 watches, Rolexes and all of that. Well, money can be found. I'm not saying Cecilia has committed any crime. I don't think so. For me, I've not seen him commit a crime, but commit a crime. But I've listened to the different narratives involving how that money ended up in a room, and I'm like, no. As a serving minister, public officer, you have to answer questions. But what did the president do? Look at the letter he wrote. Look at how the process is now. It's even leading to this at 𝗟𝗑𝗩𝗘𝗘. Something similar happened in South Africa. Let's not go far. 𝗟𝗵𝗻𝗃𝗓, when he was not president, but now that he's president, the issue is coming. Money was found on his farm. I think $500,000 or so was found on his farm. And as a result of that, the police started investigating. They started investigating about 2 years ago. Now he had to explain how he got that money. They traced it and found out that a Sudanese businessman wanted to buy cows, cattle or cows, and then actually brought $2 million through the port, through the airport in South Africa. And he declared that at the airport. So when they said he used that money to pay for the cattle, they traced it all the way to the farm and found out that, okay, yes, we found out the $500,000 that was paid in cash. We are now looking for I think it was $2 million or so that was missing. So they're looking for the remainder of the $2 million. You know how that came about? Because when they were recording the numbers, recording the audits, they didn't disclose that $2 million was missing. So they went back when he's president and he cooperated. Now they found $500,000. They are looking for the other money. What are we talking about here? That we don't know that when the money is found under your bed and you can't explain. Now I'm hearing that the money, when somebody brought it from the US and distributed it among passengers, how cruelly wicked can you? What kind of cantata is this? They distributed it among everybody so you could hold $10,000 and come. What a joke. You know, so however you look at it, there are human beings elsewhere who are behaving sensibly, but we are not doing it. So it's not really about the issue about perception, and we are living the life. Look, a minister recently did open house in his house. The president even attended. Multi-million-dollar investment, broke another adjoining wall, purchased that property in Airport Hills is no joke. There's millions. But the president went and warmed the house. Yes. And then nobody's asking, this minister, how much do you earn? How did you get this money? Even if somebody gifted it to you, we should know. You know, nobody. So
I'm tempted to ask. Evidence is the name of the game. I mean, the fact that somebody is living flamboyantly.
Mr. Schandorf, you see, yes, we understand evidence, but there's also something called, I've forgotten something called lifestyle audits, right?
Absolutely.
It is done. I'm only telling you that in Peru, the president has been changing watches. Yeah, you may say it's evidence, but me, I'm wearing my Ghana here. The president wears for come and tell him that my president, I've been seeing that police or IGP say, I think you've been changing watches too much. Can we check it? It will happen. You know that you know that it will happen. But that place, they said, in Southern America, they have that trait. They found out that, and they start asking her questions. She was in touch with you, joking. They raided the home. You think that will happen here? Maybe that's what OSU was trying to do, and then he probably overdid it by policemen. But frankly speaking, if money is found, especially when this minister has superintended certain projects whose funds have been called into question. Look at all those money spent on those infrastructure things. So I would say she's a thief. I will never call her a thief, but I would definitely want to know how that money ended there. They said ancestors left the money. The next time they said somebody shoemaker left the money. Now they said people coming from there. What is this?
Maybe this is an indication of the fact that we do not have robust systems. And still talking about systems, we've already established in this conversation that there is a nexus between policy and then politics. So to enable very viable systems, we are going into the 2024 general election. It's upon us. From what you said, from where you sit, I beg your pardon, what do you think should be the active consideration of voters if you were to campaign to a gathering of 100 people, when you were to inspire them to make a decision on December 7, what are those two things that you would firmly articulate and imbibe in them before they get into the voting booth?
I'll tell them, number one, please look out or vote for the person who practically will tell you that they want to end debt exchange by 2028. By 2028, and fundamentally decide not to go back to borrowing money from the island. But what it also means is that you also want to, maybe the second point is to say that be able to look out for politicians who will tell you that if they invest, they say they've invested or they invested 1 million in education, they should have an impact on the economy, which means that whoever they are spending that money on must return that value to the GDP. So you can't come and tell me that I spend 2 billion every year on free SHS. No. What is the impact on the economy in the next 4 years? I like to see productivity increase.
But Mr. Kudjo, all of that will be in the arena of talk. And I think we can all agree that our politicians are fine talkers. I mean, they're still talking.
Yeah, but you see, I've pushed you. You understand? Rather than come and tell me, oh, I'll make sure that there's transformation in your life. I'll make sure that there's this, all the things they're mentioning. I like to see qualitative outcomes. How do these investments lead to quality of life for me? How would it ensure that the number of people who report to the clinics for malaria cases would have reduced? Those are tangible numbers. So you're investing in health. How do you make sure that the people are having quality drinking water? So by the time their livelihoods have improved. So education, I want to see what you are going to tell me. What are you going to do so that, tell me, if you invest this amount of money, first of all, tell me what you're going to invest. If you invest it, what addition to the economy would that come from?
So basically,
saying that to us.
So basically, voters should look out for messages that have particularity and focus. I mean, specificity, basically.
And that specificity and the outcomes are clear. You can't just be woolly and tell me, oh, I'll do this. Yeah, you can do that, but please tell me, how would this impact on the economy? I recall we analyzed the NDC's manifesto, 2020 manifesto, 2016 manifesto, and then we came out to the cost of about that the Ghana would have needed $25 billion more than it really would have had in order to prosecute 75% of the agenda of the NDC manifesto, NDC 2016 manifesto. So that by the time they were leaving office, assuming 2021, then Ghana would have spent $25 billion more. And then we think that this would have added some significant, savings to the GDP. And those type of analysis, maybe we are asking too much, but I want to be impressed. So people should ask yourself, okay, Sky also by Yama. By 4 years' time, we are sure, say, my life will be better than this. The best position say, and the chairman, my life now is. I can't make ends meet today. I need to spend this. Show me how, if I earn 2,000 cedis, how much do you think I'll earn to be able to move my livelihood from this to B? And then let them talk. You see how they'll be struggling. I think that's what we should really be asking them to do. And then we reduce everything to numbers. Yeah, you want to do something in agriculture. How would it impact on the size of Bambu, Keki? What's likely to be the price? What are the inflation headwinds? For me, that's what I'll do.
Right.
That's what I should,
Right, particularity and focus. I would have extended some 30 more seconds to you, but we are out of time. But if you can do something in 10 seconds, then we are out of here in terms of your closing submissions in just 10 seconds.
Mr. Schandorf, it's been amazing talking to you. I think you're an excellent interviewer. Your production is solid, and I thoroughly enjoyed this interview. I think we should talk again. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, and thanks for the kind words. So that is Mr. Franklin Kudjo. He is the founding president of Imani Center for Policy and Education. My name is Paa Kwesi Schandorf. It's been a pleasure serving you. Bye-bye.